Okay, stand by.
The views and opinions expressed by the following program are those of the host, guests, and callers and are not necessarily those of this station or Webster Rock Hill Ministries, its management, or other hosts or underwriting sponsors. Programs presented by KWRH-LP are for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Welcome, listeners, to the It's Your Business Show, coming to you every Saturday at 12 noon. Now, whether you're starting your own business or you're already a successful entrepreneur, the It's Your Business Show delivers weekly advice from the best experts to provide you with insightful suggestions for your small business to allow it to thrive in the competitive marketplace. The It's Your Business Show is brought to you by Promo Experts. As a one-stop full-service marketing company, they can help you get noticed with top-notch creative graphic design, marketing strategy, video production, digital marketing, and promotional products to move you forward. Also, Publishing Concepts. Let Publishing Concepts LLC help you get your publishing project off the ground. They're a top-rated full-service multimedia publishing company that offers traditional print publishing, books and magazines, digital media and ebooks, website design and development, social media and marketing services, video production, and more in St. Louis. Okay, audience, here's your hosts, Jim Jump and Dr. Stan Fine.
Hey, audience, welcome. This is Dr. Stan Fine, the business doctor, and I'm here today with my co-host, Melissa Coleman. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, Dr. Stan.
Hello. It's a lovely day in the neighborhood, I'll tell you.
Yes,
anyway, welcome.
as we blow away today.
Oh, kidding. Well, hey, you're listening. If you wondered what you just heard, you're listening to the It's Your Business Show, and we come to you at 11 a.m. on Saturday and live today on YouTube right now. So if you go to US Radio Network, you'll get to see us now if you like to get a advanced view of the show, and then we repeat everything on Saturday. So it's a great show. We come to you on KWRH 92.9 FM, KXOK 102.9 FM, the same time. Then the following week, Monday to Friday, on my genre GNRE Radio Network at 10 and 1. And with that, last thing I wanted to announce is we just passed 18 million listeners a week. Can you believe that, Missy? A week.
I know, when I saw those numbers, I was like, oh my gosh, it's incredible.
I know, we're toe-to-toe with the biggest internet show out there. And it's pretty interesting that the numbers are just keep growing. I asked our network president, Cleveland Rhodes, why we're growing. And he said, you've hit a nerve with America, where many shows talk subjectively about business and the plight of America. He said, you guys, meaning you too, Missy, are the grassroots of America. You're showing people how to.
Right.
How to is ruling the day.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, not further ado, why don't we have you take it and introduce our show?
All right. Well, we have Joe Clote back with us from Publishing Concepts Incorporated, which was founded by Joe at his home in Webster Groves, Missouri, in August of 1992. In October of 1993, Commerce Publishing Company of St. Louis purchased the year-old Publishing Concepts, which grew quickly by launching international and regional tourism publications. After starting, selling, and buying the company back, Joe became the sole owner in 2005. Today, Publishing Concepts LLC includes print and digital book and magazine publishing, marketing consulting, website and mobile app development. Joe is a board member of the St. Louis Area Hotel Association and recently served as president of the Haskell Foundation, supporting Haskell Indian Nations University in Lawrence, Kansas. Joe and his children, Elise and Christopher, are enrolled members of the Osage Nation and Pawhuska. Did I get that right this time? Oklahoma. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Great to be here.
Yes, it is always a pleasure having you here. And, I feel like each time you come, I learn a little bit more. So I'm hoping our audience is also learning a little bit more. So let's get into what you do, which is publishing. So, what is a publisher?
What is a pub? So
I
having
think you have
been
many
asked that,
things now.
it is. Having been asked, and I think answered that question a lot, I keeps refining. And I would say probably in the last few weeks, I've refined it to add the word therapist to it. So sometimes, the simple answer is the publisher helps coordinate all the moving parts to a book publishing, in this case, book publishing process. That will start with an idea from the author, if you will, and depending on how far they run with it, if they create the product themselves or they need help and ghost writers to put it together, get it into a manuscript form, a written form. And then if there's illustrations needed, depending on the kind of book, then you have to have the illustrations brought in, the layout, the design, the marketing, all of these moving parts a publisher assists with. The therapist part, in a little bit tongue in cheek, but I really do see that, especially more and more with the authors, of trying to understand. They may have had certain reasons why they started the journey of writing the book. So we have a client right now that's an amputee, and he wants to write about that process. So in his own way, it's therapeutic for him to write this book and write this and wanting to help other people. And in turn, the people that he's going to reach out to, in this case, a publisher, we need to kind of have that ear as well and to understand it, get them through the process of publishing, but understanding really every author comes to the table with a different path. Really, there isn't just a single way they all show up. And it's that journey that they come to writing their manuscript that we take into account as well. So publisher is kind of that playing a lot of roles in that process.
Yes. All right, Dr. Stan.
Okay. I heard the cue. Thank you. Hey, listen, Joe, before I ask you the next question, because you're a regular guest on our show, I was doing some research, and it's going to play right into your question. So there's two things. I got 6 things, but I'm just going to share 2 for the moment. How many books are published in the USA every year? And it said the USA, over China, United Kingdom, Japan, produces 275,232 books a year. It said how many books get published a day. And they said it's averaging over 2,700 new books being launched every day. That's a lot of new titles. And with that, with that amount of volume, Joe, what does an author do to market their book today?
Right. So, and I hadn't heard that specific figure. It doesn't surprise me at all. Certainly the times that we see an increase in that number, which ironically has been in times where the market overall has dropped. So in times of the Great Recession that we had around 2007, 2008, 2009, depending on what industry you were in, you felt the impact of that and the housing bust and all of that. But a lot of people were laid off. And what happened, or they found more time to work on their book that they always wanted to work on. So we saw that happen, and we saw it during COVID as well, an increase.
I was going to ask that because I would think during that time people were finding things to do, and
they did, and they had more time, I guess, to think, right, to stew on ideas or brush off the dust to an idea or project they had started long ago and decided they'll start with that. But you're right, Dr. Stan, that the process and the marketing of it has become even more and more a challenge with that cluttered of a field, right, and busy and competitiveness of a field. It's not for the faint of heart. And the good news, there's lots of ways to push and market a book. most of them, they do cost money. There is a cost to it in time, which is no different than you can put sweat equity into that as well. If you're pushing, again, a podcast or anything on your own or in social media, time to put that content together and push it out there and make it relevant and tie back into your book. So that would be certainly one way. If you go the route of Amazon and other platforms, you're paying for those platforms. So you pay to get higher rankings. So when somebody types in children's book on leadership or something like that, depending on what the word and phrasing is, and you're trying to teach kids self-esteem or whatever, there will be titles that pop up. And how those internal search engines operate, the simple answer is you just pay for the ranking and pay to get into those. A lot of people don't. They feel like they get the book produced and they leave very little money or understanding of how to market it and how it markets today versus years ago, with fewer bookstores and things like that. Most of it's online. You really have to have some aptitude toward that. And in those cases, we help people walk and get through that process as well, of how to market their book.
I wanted to add something, Joe, since I'm calling in remote today, audience. We're trying to trick you, but I'm there. Okay, so I've looked at a lot of statistics, and one that I want your comment on this before, Missy, we go to the question, because it plays into success. And the question is, why do most books fail? And they said, and this industry experts said, they make simple grammar mistakes and sometimes big grammar mistakes by not hiring a copy editor before submitting it for publishing. Books have categories or genres. Too often emerging authors do not study the genre they've selected, or they change genres in the middle of writing. So what's your take on that?
I'd have to agree with all of that.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen
that
all
was
of
an
that.
easy question, Joe.
Well, and it's interesting because it really does happen like that. I think the process of getting it written, depending on the author, and again, there is a real thing called writer's block. And if you've ever tried to write a speech or write a book, trying to come up with that wording and phrasing can be challenging for many, many people. If you have a gift where it can just flow freely, truly it is a gift for you. But for the most part, it's an arduous task. And that's the one that I think people, if they fully understand that process of how difficult it is to get it out of their head onto paper and then process it through to all the other kind of, again, understanding that stay with the beginning and middle and end and keep the integrity and the flow of it. And I tell people, get your table of contents thought out first. Maybe start there. And first, whenever I'm discussing these, it truly is, there's some nuance for every situation, but overall, that can be one that helps a lot of people. If they think through, and a skeleton of a table of contents keeps them on task and not to break off and get into a whole other genre or go into another bent. A lot of times we'll talk to people that as they get halfway through that first book, like you're talking about, Dr. Stan, they really need to be thinking of a book 2 and 3, not try and throw all of it into the same book. Yeah. And so I think those are some lessons of just patience. Get through your one book, stay to the who is the audience, and always be writing to that audience. Have that audience in mind. And I think that's where some of the other distractions come from, is they're not writing to an audience that they keep in mind. They change the audience in their head, which is why you're getting this different genre stuff. And I've, more often than not, have people that say, well, I've already had my friend who's a really, solid editor and writer, and they've read it. And so I don't need that service. Typically within just a few pages, we can tell if they really do need somebody else to read it. And we'll make that recommendation, but it does come down to cost too. If some of the authors have invested heavily in all their illustrations and not paid to have it cleaned up and edited properly, there's some sacrifices there. And
Mhm.
we recommend and can point lots of these areas out, but ultimately it comes down to whether the publisher takes on the risk of cleaning that up or not. But it's somebody will have to get that done,
Right.
the cleanup.
Right. And let me ask you, Joe, because just for people that are listening and all the different means of getting information out, you as the publisher, do you ever have somebody that maybe transcribes verbally into a system that, then puts it into print that way? Can you work
Yeah.
from that aspect as well?
Yeah, yes, there's actually just even internally for our office for other things that we do, there's a software, one of them that we use called Otter AI.
Hmm.
And that is one where you can speak into it and it will convert that into a text form. Then that's an editable text document.
Hmm.
So in some cases, it can be done like that. We have some writers that write in LegalPad.
I
And
was going to
yeah,
say, do you still have those
we
people that
do.
do that?
We do. And they'll write it out. They're more comfortable with that process. They feel they lose something. They don't feel either comfortable enough in the typing skills to do it, but they can handwrite it out. And most often, we can read what it is they're trying to write out if there's issues and clearly cleaning that up. It's a slower process.
Right.
Ideally, it's better for all parties to get it into an editable form, meaning a Word document or a Google Doc
Hey,
or something.
Missy,
Yes.
you know what we're not telling the audience? Hey, audience, Joe's a publisher, and if you're a business owner across the country and you want to write a book, Joe can help you.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that if they want to contact Joe, they get a hold of him because he can help you sort it out, as we say. So
Yes.
he's a publisher, and if you're listening, Joe, why don't we give him the contact number?
Sure. They can reach us at 314-781-8880 or visit publishingconceptsllc.com.
Thanks, Joe.
It's a good thing to do.
Yes.
You should do it if you want to do your book. He's a guy to talk to.
Absolutely. So, Joe, can you share, because I know you've shared just a little bit about a client you're working with, the amputee, but do you have some success stories that have gone really well with the
Sure.
author?
Just recently, probably the most recent, which was as of maybe 30 days ago, 3 weeks ago. It's a book called The Fire Within. It's the author is a former fire captain, a fire chief for the St. Louis St. Louis Fire Department, William Spike Jones.
Mhm.
So he came to us probably a year and a half ago with an idea of a book, partly a memoir, and kind of his experience going through the fire departments and dealing with, in some cases, racism, in some cases, hiring and firing ordeals. He worked with a lot of women who were trying to get into firefighting. And so he saw the difficulties they were having. So in his book, he's written a lot of this, had a lot of photos, but he also wanted something that kind of presented a period of time that he personally witnessed and covered. So writing that. We finished up the book. I think it may be 3 weeks ago. We posted an ebook first. The printed version was not available yet. I think we had it within 4 days after we posted the ebook. Within a few hours, he had, it may not sound like a lot, but he had 3 or 4 immediately within a few hours.
Oh, wow.
By that weekend, that was a Friday night after 5:00. By Saturday, it got into probably another 30 or 40. And the next day on a Sunday, another 20, 30. And it has kind of continued ever since. So from a success standpoint, I would say that one, it hit a nerve. He wrote to something that was very personal to him, that he witnessed, and he lived through, but telling also a lot of historical things in firefighting. He trained many firefighters and bringing them up through the ranks who then went on in respective cities. So the one thing I noticed right away is it was literally coast to coast.
Oh,
He,
wow.
the orders that are coming in are from all over the United States.
That's
So a
amazing.
success when we called him right away and just said, hey, we don't know about you, because he had quantities of the book himself because he was going to do some public speaking and things like that. Well, he had already run through quite a bit of books himself within that first 5 days.
Wow.
So that just happened. We're literally on our second printing of 250 books. So we went through 250 pretty quick and on to the next. And we'll probably have another order here very quickly. So
Wow.
it's nice to see an ebook version. Was his first sale, but it'll probably come out that about 20, no, probably won't be that. It'll probably be 12 to 15% will be ebooks,
Mhm.
and the rest will be a printed book in his case. And everybody's
I'd like-
title's a little different, but
Hey, Joe, I'd like your comment on this.
Yeah.
How many books sold? There's two statistics that I recently read, and I want your opinion on these. One was how many books sold is considered successful. And the answer, they said in the book's lifetime, is for a traditional publisher to think of a nonfiction book as a success, it has to sell more than 10,000 copies over its life. And the second statistic was how many pages is a good book? And it said, when wondering how many pages a book should be, it's notable that the average book length is between 200 to 400 pages. And you and I just finished a book that is 100. We got to get a couple more pages, Joe. 191 pages. Joe and I, we have a book. We're going to plug it later, but I want to just share how to promote your business with limited money with Dr. Stan Fine and Joe Cloak. We're partners in crime. So do you think we'll raise the bar on this thing, Joe?
let's hope so. So let me those stats on the 10,000 traditional publishing. I'd agree with that, and that's why we actually for our clients in our office we have kind of a hybrid to hit that kind of number. Truly is. It is not as commonplace as everybody thinks.
Mhm.
What
And-
is commonplace in your opinion?
So, and it ties into again what that expense is. So there are some clients when they come in and are prospects at that time and people that just are inquiring about the process. We really want to find out what marketing do they already have baked into their process. So if they come to the table and they don't know what social media is, okay, and we do have some clients that have no experience on it, they're not in that world, is very different that somebody comes to us that has a radio show or has a podcast or has a retail business where they see people on a regular basis. So it really depends on that. Success is, again, you can take it from just purely the business standpoint. It's recouping your cost, especially hard cost. But again, I would add up time that you spent writing and things like that. Again, if it was out of pure joy and a labor of love, some people don't equate that right to it. But if it's having it proofed and edited and illustrated and bound and printed and distributed, all those costs, and you're able to make a profit, that's success, right? From a business
Mhm.
standpoint. Where I've said in other interviews where there's some people that come to us that, that may not be the number one goal for them. For them was to just tell their story. In the case of the amputee, one
Mhm.
to just tell a story and help a few people.
Right.
And you know, will he sell the 10,000? I don't know, but that to him right now isn't as critical yet as just getting what he's lived through and gone through, telling that story, and then being able to help some other people. So I caution, I certainly, in one of the questions we ask when you come in is why do you want to do it? If you want to do it for commercial viability, I wear a different hat and speak to you differently, and maybe in some cases a little more direct and curt with regard to, I don't want you spending and wasting your money on a project from my perspective of that, or areas that you need to be careful about that are
Mhm.
definitely potholes that you can get into that can cost you money that you really, with a little bit of planning in advance, you could avoid.
Mhm.
And then the other is if you're doing it for friends and family or yourself, right? That's different. And I answered those questions and guide a person on that path differently than I would one that's taken the other. And is there a hybrid of both? Yes. And in
Mhm.
that, I wear two hats.
And
Yeah.
let me
Hey,
ask you,
Joe,
oh,
and by the way, the average author today is selling around 250 books or less. Okay?
Yep.
That's the statistics being pulled throughout the publishing industry that I'm reading. And I could be wrong, but
Yep. No, and honestly, that doesn't surprise me. And again, areas where you would see greater success, including with Fire Within, he had a baked-in network of 30 years of his teaching and going out and presenting and training other firefighters all around the country.
mhm.
So he had name recognition. Again, all the authors can ask themselves these questions as well and see what do they have. They may have a hidden gem of marketing themselves that they didn't realize. And in part of the discussion we have in the early meetings that we have with authors is to uncover that.
Mhm.
You know, some people may not think that while they have a huge following on social media, but they don't. It was by kind of organic. People really liked their podcast or liked their information they were putting out, but they never really sold anything through that channel. We can help them bridge that gap and start to use it, still keep the integrity of the content that they want to push out and not lose audience members, but have also ability to sell a product that directly impacts them and can recoup their monies.
Mhm. And just to add on to that question, for you as a publisher, somebody coming in to do a book, is there a requirement with any publisher, you included, for a minimum of books that need to be printed if somebody was considering writing?
No. So over the years, I would say certainly within the last 8-10 years, we went from kind of larger numbers of 500 and 1,000 down to some wanting 25 copies.
Mhm.
You know, I have one client, I did 11 copies of a very involved book, hardbound, full color, case bound. It actually had gold lettering on it. It
Oh,
was
wow.
very ornate and unique. That price obviously goes way up, right?
Right.
Per book.
Right.
But I would say that and digital printing, that whole process of digital printing has helped aid the ability to do smaller runs.
Okay.
So a case bound book, hardback book, lower quantities, it's harder to do those. You can get them done, but the per unit price is expensive. So to where you would have to get larger quantities to get the unit price down because of what people were willing to pay for
Right,
that price.
right.
So
Well, gentlemen, we are
Yeah.
actually coming up on our break. So we will be back in just a few minutes with Dr. Stan and Joe Clote from Publishing Concepts. And we will see you in just a few minutes.
Do you want to become a radio show host, or do you want to create a radio show? Well, Dr. Stan Fine can help you to have your own radio show and put you on 100 cities daily across the U.S. And you can immediately start recording from a live radio studio. As a radio industry veteran, Dr. Stan Fine has 12 years of experience and has produced and hosted over 1,000 radio shows with over 10 million listeners. Dr. Stan Fine knows how to make this happen for you. He's a pro, and he can turn your dreams into a reality. Dr. Stan Fine will help you with everything from learning how to promote your show, develop a host persona, interview techniques, market your show on social media, teach you how to get guests and sponsors, and more. Dr. Stan Fine can put you on the air nationwide daily to 100 cities. If you're interested in making your dream come true, if you want to see how it all works, then give Dr. Stan Fine a call at 314-710-8413. That's 314-710-8413. You've got nothing to lose, and Dr. Stan Fine can help make your nationwide radio dreams come true. If you're looking for a new, informative health and lifestyle show to gain knowledge and inspiration to help guide your journey to think, work, and live more powerfully, then you need to listen to Sage Advice with Melissa. It's live each Thursday from 10 to 11. Now, whether you're trying to improve your life from a mental, physical, or spiritual journey, Sage Advice with Melissa Coleman, CEO of Sage Skincare, delivers weekly advice from industry experts to provide you with insightful suggestions to allow you to thrive with a better quality of life. Melissa's mission? To guide you through the uncharted waters of health and wellness and to give you a voice to help improve your life. So be sure to tune in to Melissa on KWRH 92.9 FM every Thursday at 10 a.m. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, listeners, saying thanks to your customers is nice and polite, but expressing your gratitude in memorable and ongoing ways can boost your business. At Promo Experts LLC, we exceed our customers' expectations. For over 20 years, our product knowledge and experience has helped them with their marketing initiatives and trade show graphics. We are happy to put that experience to work for you. Quality products, great customer service, and prices are our number one priority. We work with you to find unique, creative, and new ideas that fit your image and expectations, helping you build strong relationships with your customers. When you select Promo Experts as your marketing partner, we help you to see more than the big picture. For more information about this exciting opportunity, contact Diane Carson, President, at 636-458-5241. That's 636-458-5241. Let Promo Experts help you to move your business brand beyond the bland. Have you always wanted to write your own book but don't know where to start? Publishing Concepts, a publishing company located right here in St. Louis, offers everything from consulting, book printing, copyrights, ISBNs and barcodes, print book layout, ebook and iBook layout, graphic design, cover design, ghostwriting, typing and editing, distribution, marketing, and more for an affordable price. Visit publishingconceptsllc.com or just Google Publishing Concepts to get started today, or call 314-781-8880. That's 314-781-8880. Publishing Concepts. We help you sell more books.
In today's economy, there are more people looking to buy and sell businesses than ever before. When a company owner needs to sell their business, they can't just stick a for sale sign in the window. They need the assistance of a business broker to locate and vet potential buyers. On the other side, buyers rely on the broker to help facilitate the process of evaluating potential businesses and franchises for sale. A Transworld Business Advisor is the solution for both scenarios. Transworld Business Advisors focus on three core concepts: business brokerage, franchise consulting, and franchise development. Transworld has specialized in the sale of business and commercial real estate. Today, Transworld Business Advisors is a global network of brokers offering a turnkey solution for those that want to build a solid business and future for themselves while maintaining a balanced quality of life. With our comprehensive training program, full marketing support, and local field support, you won't have to start from scratch. Our trained experts and members will help you every step of the way. Transworld Business Advisors has 40 plus years of experience, 10,000 plus businesses sold, and 600 plus brokers, 250 offices worldwide. For a free initial consultation, call Charlie Scarlett, business broker, or Billy Rowland, business broker, at 636-400-6100. Again, that's Charlie Scarlett, business broker, or Billy Rowland, business broker, at 636-400-6100.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the It's Your Business radio show. I am co-host with Dr. Stan Fine. I am Missy Coleman. Hi, Dr. Stan.
Hey, how you doing, Missy? Joe, you're
Left baseline, no good. Tata the rebound, and then Ojulu traveled. She took.
Well, is it my turn, Missy? Because I want to jump in.
Yes, it is your turn. You're going to bring us back with question number 4.
Okay, isn't technology great?
Yes.
You know? Well, anyway, Joe, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Joe Clote is the publisher at Publishing Concepts. He's a regular. We have him on monthly because what he says can help you with your business. And Joe, let's talk a moment about ebook versus printed. What's your feel on the deal?
That in most cases you need both, and for a number of years I would see people venture out, take their manuscript and just try and have it as an ebook, and they would, in my opinion, cut too many corners, and maybe they didn't have it properly edited, and laid out, and things that it needs to be done. So I think produce the book as if it's going to be printed. And if you only want to do an ebook, do it from that vantage point. The other version, the other way of doing it doesn't work. There's too many errors that pop into that ebook, and then you're going to have trouble selling just an ebook. But if you go with the idea of having both versions, if you will, done, and there's other types. There's audio books and video books, but just from the standpoint of an ebook as a print version, and then a PDF or iBook kind of format, just go through all the steps of producing it as if it would be printed. And more often, like I said in the earlier segment, there's one about 3 weeks ago, we launched it because we put the ebook up first. We hadn't yet taken possession of receiving the printed books. They were just 3-4 days behind, but we thought, let's get it up before the weekend. And sure enough, the orders started coming in, hitting the ebook first, and then we put the ebook or print book for sale. Those started right away. So I do encourage people, look at both, but for cost reasons, you're going to say, well, I'll just do the ebook and that saves postage. I don't have to ship it and I don't have to print it. The reality is then you cut corners in how to get it produced, and it can be a product that you're not going to be as happy with, and you may have to redo it, and you're going to spend that money one way or the other on the first production of it, or the second or third, depending on how many it takes you to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal when we sit down with people is point that out. And there's some people that the ebook platform works really well, but on average, we'll see at the peak of ebooks in this country for our authors, we had them hitting around 41% to maybe 45% sales. We haven't been near that number since the peak of it, which was probably 8-10 years ago. So today it averages anywhere from 5% up to 20%, maybe for any given author, of having an ebook sold. Mm-hmm. So I do encourage it. You do need it, but do it with caution.
Right.
Joe, listen to this statistic. How many books a year is normal, to get out there? And it says a few more interesting kernels from the data. Women read an average of 15.7 books in 2021, while men read only 9.5. And the number of books consumed dropped by age, with adults 18 to 34 reading 13 books for the year, compared to 12.5 books for those between 35-54, and 12 books for those older than 55. Well, I'm 79, and I'm reading more,
right.
And I like going through a paper copy. I'm old. I may be old, but I like it.
Right. We offer internships at our company. So during COVID, there were 0 students raising their hand, so to speak, right, looking for internships. They just didn't. And even though we would have accepted them, we had positions open and available. So that's only started up in earnest just about a year ago. That was it, maybe 8-9 months ago. We had somebody in the office yesterday. In talking to them, they just recently graduated. So they're a 21, 22-year-old. And almost, I would say it's a very large percentage of younger readers do like, because we asked them this, and she actually brought into the interview a book that she's reading. a very perfect bound, hardbound, case bound book, fantasy book, I think it was. But she loves reading, consumes a lot of books. But her comment was, and I asked her point blank, do you like hardbound printed books or do you like ebooks? And she replied, I'd rather have a physical book, the tactile feel, the ability that it doesn't use solar, that it doesn't, you don't need any battery power. It's
Mhm.
just very convenient. Open up where your bookmark is and start reading. We see that a lot.
Exactly.
We see that a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misconceptions thinking, oh, all the young people, they only want it because it's digital and it's electronic. No, I often find it's the opposite.
Yeah. I think there's something about reading a book, like sitting down, like I could never do an ebook. Like that just didn't register. And I barely read now. I listen to books.
Yeah.
But even so, if it's a book that is really interesting to me, I will buy the hard copy.
Yeah.
And listen to it. Because I think sometimes, especially if it's something I need to reference back to, I
Yeah.
want that actual book.
And Missy, yes, the audiobooks, that is increasing. In the last
Mhm.
3 years, that number continues to, it's not huge, but it's steadily increasing. And people are finding that to be a manageable way to get the books that they want to get read and in their head. It's a
Mhm.
good way to do it.
Yes. It's my
Hey, Joe,
favorite thing.
nationwide, people are listening to this show, 18 million strong now. If they want to publish a book with you, and I brought you a few people, and I got another person you're talking to, what you said to me once, we'll look at a few pages and give you an evaluation. So is that offer still on the table for the audience across the country?
It is. If they contact us and if they have a manuscript that's either been, sitting collecting dust, or they just kind of revisited it and are fine tuning it. And I have some that are halfway through a manuscript themselves and writing it. They're going to send us 10 pages. We'll have our editors read those 10 and just as a kind of a sampling, provided it's a sampling of the manuscript as it exists right now of your manuscript. You brought up a good point early on where, if it's too rough of a condition, and too much in a draft mode, and they're really thinking, do I want this chapter here? Do I want it there? That's kind of a different stage. What we would look for is if it's more complete and they just want to get a kind of sense of what quote condition it's in. Those 10 pages, no charge. We'll read through it and we'll give you an analysis back from both in just the clarity of the writing, certainly the punctuation and grammar and the finer points of editing, and give you feedback. It's also something we have to do as a publisher to know what kind of costs there are or work there is in any given manuscript. So we have to do it kind of as a test regardless to just see what we're going to be embarking on. There was something earlier, Sam, you talked about on the page count,
Right.
and we do get asked that a lot, and I don't think I fully answered it. So where it was, I think 200 to 400 was quote the average,
Right.
and we're
Yeah.
at 190, which I'll address that here in a second. But the 2 to 400, there isn't a magic number.
Right.
If you can tell your story, if you can write your textbook, if you can include your poems, and they're complete in your mind, certainly there's things that the publisher can offer to you as instruction on how to bulk that up a little bit. Bulk it up in the standpoint if you really want a certain kind of binding. So a stitched book, which uses staples, right? And we have
Right.
authors that do pamphlets and booklets and things like that. Certainly the page count impacts how many pages a stitched book can have up to, and then you have to switch to a different kind of binding, comb binding or coil binding, or so that's about the only time when we talk page count does it impact. It impacts the type of binding. But overall, to get your idea, out of your head and heart onto the paper and into the computer, just get that to be as complete without, again, tons of fluff or anything. The more succinct and better quality writing you have improves the likelihood on the sales. The
We-
tying into the book, and you had mentioned it, Steve, how to promote your business with limited money. We embarked on that. I think taking a large extent of the written work that you had done, Dr. Stan, in previous books and your experiences in business came into this. We also brought in two other writers, Jim Jump and Diane Carson.
Carson, yeah.
Yeah. And Jim wrote a section on a business plan, how to write a business plan. Diane wrote a section on basically how to master PR and public relations. And I think when you and I thought through this of, okay, can it be more of just a reference guide? That's how we did this. So the page count, in our case, the 190, I think is packed full of a lot of good, helpful information for business owners, small business owners and marketing people to just fan through it, find a spot. It might be the area that Diane wrote about on the mark or the PR, and it could be the how to write a business plan. So in this case, in this book, again, as we start to now market it ourselves, one, by talking about it, having the ability on your show is certainly a key component. Our social media, we have some other magazines and stuff that we promote book authors and concepts like this in. Speaking out at public events, if we get a speaking engagement on business topics, referencing this book is again, when people ask, well, how do you sell your book? It's you basically living your life, do the things that you normally do. And if you aren't great at public speaking, maybe get out there and try a little bit of that and tout your new cookbook or your new poetry book.
Well, hey, Joe, Missy, I don't want to steal the show.
Oh,
from
you're
you. I'm
good.
Sorry.
You're
Okay.
good.
Listen, Joe, you and I are on the board of directors where we have the president of a radio and television network. The TV, the radio's in 100 cities, over 25 million. The TV is 32 cities, 45 million. And we're getting ready to launch those campaigns across 45 million. And, I think we're unique. We're unique. We need to get these people to start thinking about this stuff. But we're going to get ready and launch a nationwide video and audio commercials. And we're getting ready. I'm going to be, I'd like to see those numbers. I'd like to see 1,000 copy at least, in the first run. And they say a publisher typically pays $5,000 to $10,000 advance to a good first-time author. It means that you got to sell around 1,000 copies of a book that costs $20 to break even after printing and distribution. And it says an author will receive royalties typically about 10%. And, that's $2 a book.
Right. Right.
And that's what we're doing. And Joe has put thousands of dollars in his investment into this. We got to get him paid, Missy. That's all. we can't leave him. He's going to be looking at the numbers, so we're going to have to really push it.
Well, we're talking about it now.
There you go.
I know. So, audience, we're going to help you with that too. So we got a great Joe's brilliant. He said, let's make it a reference book. And I meant, man, that's a home run. You don't have to read the whole book. Just open a chapter and read, and you're done.
I don't know if you're ever done when you're doing business, Dr. Stan.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're never done.
You need a manual all the time.
I know. A manual and everything. Sorry, Missy.
Oh, no, you're good.
I got excited about it.
Well, that's understandable. I mean, it's a great book you two have put together, and along with the help of a couple friends and,
And Joe.
Yes.
He contributed.
Yes,
and
yes.
he's a co-author. He gets the right of that.
Yes.
So we're solid, huh? We're solid.
Yes. And just since we're plugging the book, is it available to purchase on the It's Your Business Radio website?
Yeah. We just added it to the website. If you go to just added it in the first page at the bottom. If you go to itsyourbusinessradio.com and you go to the bottom, there it is, staring you in the face. Just click it on and you can order it right there.
Mhm. And let me ask Joe, as the publisher of this book,
Mhm.
do you have a page on your own website where you highlight your authors and have their books on your site as well?
We do. So if you go to that publishingconceptsllc.com, and then there's a bookstore, click on that, and we have it broken down: children's books, poetry, novels, science fiction, all of it. And the under our business section is this book for
Okay.
Stan and I. So it's there as well.
Well,
Yes.
awesome. So anyone listening, they've got
Yes.
two different
Two-
places to go and seek it
Absolutely.
out.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We'd love for them to.
Yes. So in sticking with the cost of books and
Sure.
things of that nature, for somebody that is looking to self-publish,
Mhm.
how does that look for them? And are you as a publisher able to help in that self-publishing role?
Yeah. You know what? If I can take a couple minutes on just the, because it came up recently
Mhm.
where a author, actually a company who's wanting to draft their own manuscript and have it published. There is some, I think, information that if you Google this topic on how to work with a publisher or what is a publisher, what's coming back on these searches, and Dr. Stan, you referenced a few of them in your comments already today, where the percentages back to the author, or from the publisher to the author, and what I think is confusing on that, that traditional relationship of a publisher and an author is really modified today, has been for a number of years, and it's because of the technology of radio, of TV, of podcasts, of all of these mediums, of how we market things
Mhm.
played into it, how we produce them, even books, and having ebooks. So that whole landscape, in my opinion, it's gotten more complicated, so and more confusing in some ways. But it's also an advantage. There's lots of ways to do it, but having so many paths to choose from on how to produce a book, and again, we talked about audio and ebook and print and all these things, and video books, and then how to promote it and push it and get it out into, again, those traditional small independent bookstores were reduced greatly when the advent of Amazon came into play and power. So that is still kind of being battled out there. When people look at a publisher, a lot of them think, okay, that, and Stan, I think the part you quoted was that a publisher will pay in advance to a writer, to an author.
Some writers.
Some. So
Right.
those are really few situations. They really are. And I think the sooner, and we've actually been trying to write some white papers and directives and information and put it out there that kind of counters, it brings it up to what are now these hybrid ways of publishing. So there are some authors that if they say, I have this, we have one that has 90,000 on Instagram, 90,000 followers all over the world. And they really weren't selling that audience a product yet until they started looking at, hey, let's produce a book.
Mhm.
And then it was, okay, now let's try and sell it through this pipeline of Instagram. Okay. But their Facebook accounts are big, their YouTube accounts are big. So they have some ways that myself as a publisher, somebody has to pay for it. And I think that's really the crux of it. Can we help people when they come in the door, if they have no budget and they want somebody to just, I'm going to give you my idea and you pay me for it. I'm not opposed to listening to that. But the
Right.
reality is that it gets scrutinized in a lot of ways that the authors are not ready for them to hear that.
Mhm.
Okay. The truth of the
Yes.
matter. And so what they may want it produced as, I want it hardbound, I want it gold leaf pages, and I want it to be this. The reality is that that's not going to happen
Mhm.
if you're looking for somebody to foot the bill on it. And that's really, I think, the hard truth of publishing, quote, self-publishing, or all the way to, it's a hybrid. It's somewhere on that spectrum that an author will have skin in the game, money in the game. If an author just wants to be a brilliant writer and supply manuscripts to people that will turn it into something, I had to explain to this company that I wanted them, they were missing of, wait, why are you charging me something to produce a book? And I said, well, I could do it, but your margins that you're wanting would go way down to not even 10%, Stan. It'd be 2% or 0 for the first few years until some money's recouped. So that's the part that people are, it's not being told on the internet and these pages.
Right.
And it's not reality. The reality is somebody has skin in the game and somebody has more than the other financially. And if it's an even thing. So I look at our platform is really adaptable. We meet those authors where they are. So if they have large social media followings or 0, we can meet them wherever they are and find the one that's best for them. And again, we're one of many types of companies that do this. So there's certainly, I think we have found a way of just instructing and helping these authors through this journey, whether they fully utilize any or all of our services. It's more about just getting them the best information to make some decisions. What I don't want are authors being misled by information that's out there, and there's a lot of it. And I don't want them ending up with a basement full of books, getting water damage that they can't sell because somebody was a fast talker or convinced them that this was the way to go. It's just, just do your homework, really look and don't take one source. Don't take just my source, compare it to others and really do your homework on it. It can be an expensive endeavor. And there are authors that we have put in financially on because we see the total picture of it and what they're going to contribute. But I'm basing that on the very things that I would tell you that you could do. So I have some clients that if they picked and packed the book themselves, they'd make more money. But what they realized is I don't want to spend my time doing that, that service, that part of it.
Yes.
So yeah, it gets to be, but I haven't really said that a whole lot, but I'm thinking it's needed more and more to kind of correct what's people are reading, and they're coming to, I think, publishers like me and expecting that, well, you'll just pay for everything. Well, it's here's when that happens. It happens because you're able to get on radio shows and talk shows and get in the media and get written up in a newspaper and have a, like Diane Carson says on the PR side, can you get yourself promoted in ways that gets attention to your product, your book, your newfound passion, whether it's a cookbook or a poetry book.
Well, gentlemen, we are actually coming up on the very end of the show. The red light is blinking. So, Joe, if you want to share one more time before we get out of here, how somebody reaches you. And
sure. It's 314-781-8880. Call and speak to Olivia in our office. Ask for Olivia, and she'll connect you with me. And then we'll also on our website, publishingconceptsllc.com.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Joe. Thank you for being on the show.
You bet, Stan.
Joe.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure having you. Bye, Dr. Stan.
Bye. We got halfway through. It wasn't too bad.
He's coming back, so we're good. Have a great week, everybody.